All right, how's everybody doing? I am sitting here in the studio going over some Helix patches, and I'm going to show you guys how I build one of these patches. I'm going to feature the an amp model that I've never really played around with in this thing. There's been tons of other people use it. I kind of overlooked it when I first started. It's just the Mandarin 80. Everybody's hyped on the rock reverb model in the Helix right now, so figured I would give this one a shot, and it actually sounds really, really good. And so this is what we've got so far. This is a patch that I have already built, and I'm going to do a screen capture on the computer here so you can see what I'm doing. But this is a patch I already built, and we're playing a Fender Strat humbucker. So this is what we've got. This is just dry with a little bit of reverb. Sounds really good. So I'm going to start a new preset here, and this will be up on the video capture. So the first thing I always do when I'm building a preset is take this, go to path 2. So now I will put this patch up for sale as well if you would like to purchase it. It's going to be $10. Anyways, it'll include my impulse response that I use for this, which is a greenback Marshall cabinet, actually. I would use the orange cabinets, but I just feel that the Marshall cabinet, to me, it just sounds better. So here we go. All right, so I basically, when I'm building a Helix patch for myself, I'm setting it up like my actual amp and pedal board setup. So the first thing I'll do in my first selection here, I like to have a drop tune available if I need it. I don't always need that. So I'm going to go over here and grab the Poly Capo. We'll just turn it off for now. And I'm not going to assign this to anything yet. So the next pedal in line is a compressor. Now, normally I don't use a lot of compression. I use a parallel compressor in my full board, the barber tone press. But with a Helix, it's such a direct sound, and if you're used to using tube amps, this is a good way to get that feel, hence compression that tubes do, out of this. And you can experiment with putting it at the front or after the amp. I like it at front. So, and sometimes I will add two. I'll add one after if it's a real direct filling amp and I want a little sag. Here again, they got the sag control in the Helix. So I always use the deluxe comp. Go ahead and throw a volume pedal in here. I like volume after my compression, but before my drives, because if I'm playing something like a Les Paul that has 2 volume controls, I do a lot of pickup selecting, and it makes it kind of a pain in the butt. So I go there. I prefer that curve over the linear. All right, first drive stage. I usually have this set as. We're just going to grab a generic 808. And this amp is going to be driven. This is not going to be a clean amp. It's going to be a 1 amp setup. So we're going to drop the gain, crank the level, the typical tube screamer thing. I like to bring the tone back to 5. So now we can grab our amplifier. I'm just going to go all the way over here and grab it. And let's see. Go down to amplifiers. And there's our Mandarin 80. All right. First thing I like to do, back the drive down just a hair, because it's more than enough drive. Second thing I like to do, or I guess I should let you hear what the amp sounds like when you first pull it up. Well, let's grab the impulse response first. So let's go over here and grab my impulse response. And I'm putting the impulse response after everything except for one extra block I'm going to put there. Because I will remember stuff like the octoverbs or any other verbs, when you're running them through an actual amplifier, they're heating that speaker. They're not after the speaker. So you're getting like more highs and everything. That's why some of the analog stuff sounds more digital than analog. So I put all the time-based effects between the amp and the impulse response. Now this is a mono setup. This is not stereo. I rarely ever run a stereo setup. So I'm going to grab... I know I got a lot of impulse responses. They're kind of scattered. But I'll tell you what. I've got a favorite saved. So let's just do that. Let's go over here to our favorites. Greenback 412. And here you can see what that is. Leave it set as is. So this is what we have. I gotta get my wireless going here. So this is the amp just as it comes. Sounds pretty good. So first thing I'm going to do is back down the drive just a hair to about 6.5. No, I'm sorry. That's bass I'm adjusting. I'm doing this with the rotary thing. Yeah. Gain down to 6.5. Bass down, way down to, let's go 3.7. Keep the mids at the middle. Keep all that the same there. The FAC control, let's put it on 2 for now. Let me demonstrate what this does with this amp. With it all the way down, you have more low end. With it all the way up, you have less low end. So put it on about 2. Sounds pretty good to me. All right, now let's start building our time-based effects here. Oh, I just realized the tube screamer was still on. So that's with tube screamer off, tube screamer on. Not really adding that much more gain. It's just more of a tightening thing, as people use tube screamers for these days. All right, so I already have in my favorite setup how I like my delays, and my delays are the analog echo from the legacy stuff, and you can see how it's set there. It's fairly simple. That's what that sounds like. Sounds great. I always set up 3 delays with my patches. We have, let me go to my stuff here. We have a short delay. When I say short delay, it's more mix oriented. It's not as much mix, and it is a shorter delay. Long delay, and both of these are quarter note delays. Long delay is mix at about, let's see, you can see it here. Mix at 48% and feedback at 51%. So there's more of it there versus the short delay. Just subtle differences. And you can stack those if you need more. And then I'll have one more delay, which is a dotted eighth for that sound. All right, so then I've got 3 blocks to play with here. I always put a spring reverb, 63 spring from the Legacy, and also from the Legacy, the Octoverb. Now, the 63 spring stays on all the time. Anytime I create my patches, it's always on. That's what this sounds like. It's very subtle. So we have that. Here's the Octoverb. And you can see the settings there. They're not very extreme. So pretty much the way I like to set my time-based effects, delays, reverbs, and all that type of stuff is I get it to the point that it's just barely where I can play rhythm with it on, and then I back it down one notch. So and as you can tell, it's kind of getting out of my way until I stop. So there's that. And then I'll throw something random in this area, and it can be anywhere from a pitch shift effect to a modulation effect. So we're going to throw an optical tremolo up here just for, fun. I always like to set mine on a 1/8. Bring the intensity down because they always have these things like really, really heavily affected. So let's try with it on 4. It's pretty decent. And like I said, that can be a chorus, that can be a pitch shift effect, whatever. I mean, we already got the dropped our polycapo in here, which pretty much eats up a lot of DSP power, but you can put another pitch deal on the bottom level too. So if you run out of DSP on one path, you can add it to the other path if it works in that spot for you. So we have our polycapo, and that does literally what it means. I've got it set to go down a full step. Here's with it on. So yeah, and I apologize for any noise going on right now on my speaking mic. My heater just turned on because it's cold in Georgia right now. Anyways, that's pretty much it. And then right at the end, after the cab block, I'll drop a gain boost, which is not a gain per se. It's a just volume boost. I'll do a 3 dB volume boost, and I'll set that up in the Helix on a foot switch for solo boost. So off, on. So that's pretty much the whole patch. So now I can go and assign all this to my pedals that I want to use, because at the current moment the Helix is, doesn't have anything assigned except for my favorites thing. It does, when you save a favorites in the Helix, it saves it where you have it on the board. So I already know I want the polycapo to be on foot switch 1. This would be fine on foot switch 2. I never turn that off. You know what? Just for laughs, we'll add a wah in here too. We got DSP for a wah. So a weeper. So, and that automatically goes to the pedal switch. So now the next pedal in line, I'm going to make my tremolo because I don't hit it very often. And then the next one in line would be the drive. And all those are set. So the only thing left to set will be this guy, which is the solo boost. And you can rename that solo boost if you want. Just go in, let's see, customize, yeah. So we'll say solo, and it shows up on the board as solo. I would have a GoPro down on the board, but the board is disgusting right now with dirt on it, so I gotta clean it up. But that kind of gives you the idea. So now with that, sounding pretty good to me. Now, the FAC control on the amp will help if you can change this on the fly if you want. If you're in a mix, a pretty thick worship mix, you might want to bring that up some more because there's already a lot of low-end information going on in the band. So, you know, I would maybe bring it up to 3. I like that actually a little better. Say, playing the rhythm section to My Testimony by Elevation. That sounds pretty good. I need to make sure I'm in tune here. I know this isn't as glamorous as most YouTubers, but it's the way I do it. So, for my typical worship setup, this rig will pretty much work for anything you do in country. You could probably back the gain down on the amp some and get a little more clean sound, or volume control. Or, you know, a little bit of blues stuff. Sounds quite nice for that. So we're going to set up a worship sound. So I'm going to use the octoverb and the long delay, quarter note. I need to remember to look at this camera over here. So this is what we've got. So that sounds pretty good. We're going to use My Testimony as another example here. We'll go in and tap the tempo that I want to play to. Now keep in mind, I don't play these songs quite like the original artists do because we have our own way of doing it. So the opening riff that I play as you can hear, that octoverb really comes in nicely there. You can use it for swells, use the volume pedal. Very nice. But even with this setup, that's a fairly large amount of effects going on, to my opinion. It's nowhere near what most worship guitar players use in this day and time. But if I'm going to play the rhythm part, and with that, I can play some solo stuff while I'm playing the rhythm part. And of course, you can play the signature run to it. So that's how I kind of typically build my patches, and I'll do this with my actual main patch that I use, and I'll put it up for sale as well. So if you would like this patch with the Mandarin setup and the IR, which the IR is a on hammer Marshall greenback cabinet. So, and the Mandarin orange, listen to me, Mandarin orange. The orange, this is based on the orange OR80 or something, or OR120, something like that. It was back in the 70s when the amp was made, or 60s. So back then they used the greenbacks in it. So it kind of works really well with it, because I tried the vintage 30s, didn't work. I don't like them. So the greenbacks have that nice warm bottom end. And I'm actually taming that with the amp by turning the low end way down in the amp, because I would rather have too much than not enough. So I can always dial it back, but you know, it's hard to get it, you know, you're smashing the way Helix or way Line 6 modeled everything. They modeled everything to component level. So when you turn the EQs up, it's slamming the power section. So you're getting more power amp drive, more in everything. And so I'd rather be able to back things down and have more control and not as much gain. Now, I know that goes against guitar player what we think is good as guitar players. But, you know, tons of gain is not always what you need. Yeah, have some gain. You know, I don't never play perfectly clean unless I'm playing a funk part or something. But this is... That's plenty of gain. So I'm going to turn all this other effects off here. And I'm just going to turn the short delay on. And of course, you can turn on the tube screamer if you need more. Plenty of gain. You can... So let's demonstrate that with the polycapo on. Get the idea. So that's the Mandarin patch. So if you would like this patch, please email me at ryanbrownmusician@gmail.com, and I'll attach my Cash App to excuse me here. I'll attach my Cash App to the video description, and that's it. Hope you have a great day.